Hello there guys and girls, I'm Couch Coop and welcome to my top 5 indie games of 2020. Bit of a strange one you might think because you're a PlayStation 4 YouTuber, but I do have a PlayStation 4 favourite for the year. I'll show you that at the end. It's a bit of an obvious one, it's an exclusive, doesn't leave a lot to the imagination. But what are we looking at, Coop? We're looking at GunFire Reborn, which is available on Steam and the Xbox. Pains me to say it, we never got it on the PlayStation 4 this year. I did a video about them needing to put it on the system. It didn't happen, but it's a roguelike first-person shooter that runs smoothly, has fantastic mechanics, a huge variety of weapon pickups. There's really nothing wrong with it. Controls wise, it's standard stuff. You've got this dodge to the side, a little bit like Cyberpunk actually, and you've got the specials, which are on the clickers. On the, what the fuck, keep forgetting what I'm saying halfway through saying it because I'm watching the footage. You've got a bomb and you've got a freeze time, and you've got 4 characters. I think there's been some updates recently to choose from, but what I wanted to push on is this is 4-player online co-op, and it's got a kind of system that layers the achievements each run you do. It is very much a run focused game. The guns have these like standard categories: a sniper, a milligun, a shotgun, pistols, explosive weapons. It is a massive dice roll on what you get when you do your run, and you can only hold 2 weapons and your standard piece. So there's a lot of choice to be had. You are sometimes jostling in and out, and you can upgrade each weapon as well. So it's kind of mind-blowing with the amount of directions you can take a build in. Random drops and perks really keep things spicy, and you have a boss system that isn't re-rolled. It's a standard boss at the end, but they're big, magnificent, and quite difficult. That's part of the draw for me. As you know, it's a genre I love. It's also indie and smaller, and it didn't really get a massive fuss made about it. A few bigger name YouTubers have looked at it, but it's a massive hidden gem if you ask me on Steam. And of course, it must run really well on some of the high-end Xboxes as well. I think this is a perfect Switch port, but please can we get it on the PlayStation 4? GunFire Reborn. Okay, so next up it's another first-person shooter, and it comes in the form of Rock Galactic. Now I have to explain this one because it's been in early access since 2018 on Steam, and it kind of has its final updates and versions have been coming out this year. November was the biggest major finishing update. If you have not looked at this game for about 6 months, I recommend you hopping in and looking at it, because some of the work on the creatures and their animations and their variety has been increased. Man, it's so good. This is such a good game. If you don't know anything about its premise, you basically drill down into these randomized planets and then get given a quest to find an egg or find some mining material that you have to excavate yourself. So you have to dig these tunnels, all of the ground is destructive, and you end up just burrowing out your own level. It's totally awesome. What it also nails is that sort of aliens horde thing going on, and the class system as well. There's loads of different classes that have different abilities that involve putting platforms down, having like a rope swing thing. There's an engineer who's got grenades. It just is such a perfect 4-player class alien horde drilling game. It's constantly blowing my mind. It's gone with an art style that isn't overcomplicated either, and quite attractive to me. I like these hard edges, I like these polygons. It has been increased in detail the more it's been worked on through its beta and alpha stages. But what this means is that it can handle a huge amount of sprites and assets and moving parts on screen. You see very little slowdown, but you see huge amounts of aliens come your way. That's a really clever piece of middle ground, I think, is getting that performance and having those beautiful visuals. I also very much gravitate to playing it alone. It is pushing online a lot to you, and you are constantly sort of reminded that you're in a lobby on your own and other people are playing it. But the communication, you need to be with friends, I think. Randoms, there's a good ping system, but again, this works on its own just as good as it does 4-player multiplayer, but it's important that it offers that aspect as a mainstay, really, for its campaign. I'm huge on cool creatures and good creature design and different AI behavioural patterns and having to deal with problems from different angles because you've been thrown stuff that you weren't expecting. This so gets that right, and they're so frightening, some of these bigger bugs, and you never know when they're coming in, and of course the procedural generation with what world you're going to get never makes you relax. It's so clever. This is so recommended. Deep Rock Galactic. So next up, we got a game called Carrion that came out on PC and the Switch this year. Again, no PlayStation 4 release announced as of yet, but this is an absolute cracker, made by an individual over a period of years, laboured over, beautiful pixel art, fantastic idea of you playing as the monster, vibes from The Thing. Some of you may have seen my actual review I did for Halloween. It bowled me over completely with all of its mechanics and level design and no map and problem solving ideas. Playing as a creature got you to look at the genre from a whole different angle, creeping up on people, scaring people, making a noise and getting to a generator, or even cloning or taking over machines or people's brains and having them shoot everybody else. It was just giving so much to me, and in all the right places. There were a few issues with the campaign being a bit short, and there's been some recent free DLC that's dropped. I have no complaints about its length. I think it's a great little package, and if you've never seen it before, go snap it up. I think with recent events in the industry, it's quite clear that the AAA games process of making is got some flaws, and that's why I wanted to do a list that just shows how much polish and talent goes into these indie games that don't have huge deadlines or publishers breathing down their necks. This is testament to how cool a smaller game can be. Carrion. Okay, number 4 is of course Hades, a game from Supergiant that is available thankfully on all of the systems. PC, Xbox, Steam, and the beloved PlayStation 4. Supergiant. Regulars would have all known this was coming, this was happening, this was going to be a success. I think Pyre was a little bit weaker, and I don't think this is as good as Transistor. That is a... Christ, get the hate mail ready. But yeah, Hades is a very different angle for Supergiant, right? It's a roguelike, hardcore roguelike, with some really established elements from that genre at massive pillars of its gameplay model. And I think some of that process pushed it under the radar of some of the bigger name reviewers and got Supergiant the coverage it needed. It also was out on early access a long time ago. I had it on Steam this time last year, I can think, probably, and I was loving it back then. Funny thing, they put a nerf on just about all of your combat abilities at one point in its alpha stage, and it was so hard for about a month and a half. Like, you could not get that first boss done. It was, and I actually preferred it back then. Then, of course, at the final build, when it went live and launched on all the platforms, I think you were a little bit buffed, and I don't know, I just smashed through it when I played the final version. Comments about that, please, below. I say smash through it, I saw a bit more of the game than I had done in the entire time, you know, I'd owned it prior to that, because I think that's important, that you're not just rehashing level one and bashing that brick wall time and time again. It offers you enough reward to open up the entire game. And of course, non-roguelike normies can also play and get into it. Jimquisition. Its premise is just crazy, trying to get out of hell and having to dodge your dad and dealing with that hub, and its weapons I think are what sells it to me above a lot of the other roguelikes that are around at the moment. They are so vastly different in their attack patterns, and they are so cool to buff on the fly. You keep getting these cool rewards from all the different gods that you meet on the way, and their funny one-liners, the voice acting on this is top notch. Supergiant always do a fantastic job on all of their audio, music, voice, atmosphere, everything. Mine should be number one. I mean, up till recently, this was at the back of my mind the winner, but I stumbled across a little bit of a gem about 6 days ago, and it's driven me a bit crazy. It's made me go a little bit mad. I'll tell you all about it right now.
That's better.
Just quickly before the reveal, special mention to Ghost of Tsushima for the PlayStation Game of the Year from my good self. And of course Mortal Shell, which also deserves a big mention. Awesome Souls-like. Available on the PlayStation 4, thankfully. Okay, yeah, Coop's number one indie game of 2020 is of course Scourgebringer. This is ridiculous. It's probably made my brain construct a whole different section in regards to reactions and being able to just think at 1,000 times a second. The decisions you have to make on the fly and the way these controls are made is bar none. The best. Hello, what? I can't even talk. It's complete room by room carnage with a set of like 4 moves. Obviously there's a double jump and there's a wall jump and there's a wall slide. But there's a aerial strike that's like a flat line that goes in any direction on the shoulder button, just like Hades' dash. It's a dash, that's what I mean to say. You've got a normal attack on square and you've got a heavy attack on triangle, right? The heavy attack can stun. So you've got this area where the enemies have an exclamation mark above their heads, which is your window to go in for a stun. This all layers because each enemy has a rank in regards to how much of a fucking ball ache they are. So you need to pick them off in this order. It's like reverse engineering. But this is all happening in the seconds that you enter the room. It's a completely flawless game from top to bottom. The way it looks, the way it sounds, and the way it handles. And also, it's got the classic roguelike blueprint of that map that you've got to discover the squares on, those on-the-fly drops, and of course that layered progression tree that you get to open up some new shit with. I've just opened up some stuff that gives me a slam, and I've also got an increased stun time on my hard attack, and it's opening up all these other windows. There's also a bloody parry that sends the bullets back to the enemy, which I'm only just getting my head round. Massive bosses, loads of levels. Scourgebringer, Jesus Christ! I haven't even spoken about the gun. You've got a gun on the trigger that's not got an auto aim on it, but it kind of handles it, kind of knows where you're going with it. It sort of snaps in to what enemy is in that facing direction, but it's not unlimited, so you need to work on when you're going to use that. Reviewers have called this Celeste meets Dead Cells. I kind of call it the binding of Isaac meets Fury Unleashed, probably, and it lacking a 2-player does break my heart a little bit, but that Fury Unleashed has got all these modern tweaks to it as well. If you haven't discovered that yet, that's over on the channel. So yeah, my God, New Year's is going to be shit this year. I hope you all have a good one, or try and have a good one. The Cyberpunk stuff will be coming back in January. We're getting an update from CD Projekt Red, only God knows, God only knows. But I wanted to do a nice cool Coop video with some games that you may not have played yet and that we need desperately on the PlayStation 4 immediately. As always, guys,